So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Pepe. I'm the CEO and founder of Rexgenero. We are a UK Spanish company with most of our operations in Spain, including our GMP manufacturing. We're focused on a large indication where we have clinical proof of concept, and we've started two phase 3s in that indication with the expectation we'll be the first product on the market for critical limb ischemia. So let me introduce you to Pepe. Pepe is a 66-year-old Spanish male. He has type 2 diabetes, and he also has critical limb ischemia. So as a result of the CLI, he has chronic pain, he's unable to walk, he has very poor sleep. So, he really sleeps only 1 to 2 hours a night because of the chronic pain. And he suffered from non-healing ischemic ulcers for the last 6 months. So what is Pepe's prognosis? He has a life expectancy of 5 years. He has an annual expectation for serious infection of about a third. He has about a 30% annual amputation risk, and his quality of life is reduced by 50%. So that's comparable with many end-stage cancers. He also has a high risk of gangrene and depression. So this is the presentation of Pepe's disease. You can see on the top left, there's an ulcer around his small toe. It's surrounded by purple and yellow tissue. That's indicative of ischemia. So there is no blood flow into the foot. And so that will progress to gangrene and very likely be amputated. The bottom photo is showing an angiogram from the arteries in the lower leg. You can see on the right-hand side, the vessel is open, but diminished. And then there are two other major vessels in the middle. You can see there's a whole range of fatty plaque deposits, which is restricting flow. And the other major vessel on the left-hand side is stopped about 2/3 of the way down. But many of the smaller vessels have also been lost. So the treatment options for about half of patients, they can be revascularized, but these is usually unsuccessful in the 1 to 2 year time frame. So most patients are left with just symptomatic management of infections, trying to prevent deterioration and prevent an amputation. So limb salvage is an overall goal. So the outcome is that the ulcers won't heal. He'll live with chronic pain. He won't be able to walk, and he won't be able to sleep. But Pepe was lucky. He received our stem cell therapy, Rex01. You can see on the right-hand side, this is a single infusion, and this is looking 6 months later. You can see the ulcer has completely healed, so the infection risk is now gone. The likelihood of amputation is now very, very small. And you can see on the blood vessels, the right-hand major vessel is much, much stronger, and the two other major vessels have rethreaded down to the foot. And you can see the smaller vessels. There is a very significant increase in the blood vessels, much better flow of blood and to the foot, and gets rid of the ischemia. So the outcome for Pepe is he can walk to the shops. He plays football. He's pain-free. He's happy, and he's been without the condition for now 10 years. So looking more broadly at the indication, it's a very large indication. There's about 3 to 4 million patients between the US and Europe. That compares to about 8 million for the total number for cancer patients. It's a progressive disease. It just deteriorates. It doesn't spontaneously improve. It doesn't respond to therapy. But there are no drug therapies approved for this indication. And we believe that we will be the first marketing authorization for a sub-indication critical limb ischemia with diabetes. And then we plan to expand that out to other indications to cover the whole area. So this is looking at the clinical outcome for patients who receive standard of care. So that's a bypass with an endovascular revision. If you look at the pie chart, you can see that at 5 years, 67% of patients worsen. Either they die, they're amputated, or they develop gangrene. A further 27% of patients will live with their disease. So they live with chronic pain and open wounds. And only around 6% of patients will improve as a result of therapy. So moving on to our treatment. So it's a an autologous cell therapy, so we extract bone marrow from the hip. It's a small volume that we extract. It's a procedure that's done under local anesthetic. Usually takes about 20 minutes. We then transport the bone marrow to our manufacturing facility. We have a physical manufacturing process which takes less than 8 hours, and then we ship a final product back as a syringe for infusion into the lower arteries of the lower leg using a procedure which targets the cells directly to where the occlusions of the vessels are. So this is looking at two previous clinical trials. There are two sub-indications we're targeting. This first slide is looking at patients with ulcers. The left-hand panel shows that 100% of patients in the phase 1 had complete ulcer healing. So as you saw with Pepe a couple of slides previously, in the phase 2, this was a randomized control study. With about 22% of patients in the control group improved, but 82% of patients in the treatment arm. So very, very significant improvement. So complete ulcer healing. So transformation for the patients' lives. This next slide looks at another sub-indication. This is just patients who just have rest pain, so still very serious, but they don't yet have ulcers, but they will develop ulcers. Again, phase 1 study, all patients had complete resolution of rest pain at 12 months. In the phase 2, no patients in the control group improved, whereas nearly 80% of patients in the treatment arm were completely resolved of their CLI. So CLI and bone marrow-derived therapies have had a long history. There was quite a seminal paper in the Lancet back in 2002, so postulating the use of bone marrow cells to provide cytokines to stimulate angiogenesis. However, despite being many products have been developed for this indication, cell therapies, the progress has been very poor, primarily down to the efficacy not being significant to either get through a clinical trial or to be relevant for patients. And we believe that this is because previous generation of products